Right. Apologies. We're back having a few technical issues. Things obviously going brilliantly on the pitch for Villa, but sometimes on the Villa View off the pitch, things don't always go as planned. Myself and Dolan were just reveling in Villa's current plight compared to where we were when we were doing the shows last season, and harping back to that Everton game where we conceded so late in the day, and most Villa fans would have thought that we were absolutely going back to the Championship. But late goals now is something that Villa do, Dolan, and we did it on Sunday with Ross Barkley, still on a high, I imagine.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, my voice is still a little bit hoarse after Sunday, and I've calmed down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's just been a dream start, and like I said before, we cut off. Looking at the table now to where we were, even when we did stay up, it's remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable. And I think today, 2 years ago, was Dean Smith's first game against Swansea, I believe.
Yeah, I've seen a few videos knocking around. Yeah.
So to think again, from beating Swansea to beating Leicester, 1-0 away to go second in the table and 4-4, 100% record. 2 home games now coming up. It's a great time to be a Villa fan, and I love that. I love that little video that they posted this morning. The Barkley goal.
Oh yeah.
From the sort of side angle, and Mings' laugh when
what a laugh! What a laugh that is.
Over. But just the team spirit, and just the team spirit is crazy, and Barkley sounded like he wasn't fully fit during the week, and to come back and just deliver that bit of magic, that bit of quality that we all know he has was exactly why you pay the money for those kind of players, because they're match winners. And it's nice now to know that we've got at least 4 or 5 match winners in our team, as opposed to having to rely on one player as we have done over the last few seasons. So absolutely buzzing, Dan, and just a great atmosphere all around, and it's nice to have a bit of joy in what is a very kind of unjoyous time in the world at the minute. So yeah, it's good that Aston Villa are keeping us going.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking earlier before it cut off about going into the studio and the podcast booth and doing podcasts. That feels like it was a million years ago. I mean, I don't even know if I've seen you in person this year. I know I have. I saw you at the cup final. Do you know what I mean? I've barely seen you this year. We're coming on and doing these shows every week, and the ones straight after the game are absolutely euphoric, and we try and come on these and be a little bit more measured and analyse things a bit more. So you talked about Dean Smith's first game we beat Swansea 1-0. It was a Chelsea loan player that scored that day, Tammy Abraham, and we're in the Premier League and still relying a bit on Chelsea loan players to back the goals for us. I mean, mixed record with the Chelsea loans. It's fair to say Ross has started like a house on fire. Tammy was absolutely brilliant. Drinkwater didn't really go as planned, if we're being perfectly honest. But do you worry still about getting attached to these loan players, and then that we might not be able to keep them? Or do you think now we're in the Premier League, we've obviously got a really good chance of signing Barkley?
No, I think we will sign Barkley. I do. I think the way Chelsea are going at the minute, I think they're going back to the days of splashing the cash. I think last season for Chelsea, bringing through the likes of Abraham and Mount and Tomori, and even playing Barkley more, I think was probably a one-off for them because of the transfer ban. I do think if Chelsea had been spending the money they spent this season, last season, bought Tammy last season,
might have helped.
I really hope we can. I really hope something can come of that, because I'd love to see Tammy back. I'd love to see Barkley stay as well. And as I said on Sunday, if we keep this consistency going and we're in and around the top 4, top 6, top 8 come January, and there's a chance of getting into Europe or maybe getting into the top 4, we can spend big money on players. And I don't know the ins and outs with the Barkley loan deal, but if we carry on playing the way we're playing and getting results, and he keeps on performing the way he has done over the last 2 games, I don't know why you wouldn't want to stay at Villa, a club like Villa, because he can become the bigger fish along with Jack in a smaller pond. And I think those players like Barkley, they're such naturally gifted footballers. Him and Jack kind of come from the same mould, real kind of young proteges, products of their academies. thrusted into the limelight quite quickly. Probably Barkley more than Jack, because Barkley broke onto the scene in the Premier League, and he's never been relegated, obviously. But I think they're obviously very close, and they come from very similar footballing backgrounds, and to have players like that at our football club is it's an absolute joy, and I love the philosophy. I love what we're trying to do, and it's taken time, but we're finally starting to see the hard work pay off. And we always football we want that instant results. We want players to come in and hit the ground running, and we want our strikers to come in and bag hat-tricks. But we're starting to see now, even last year, the players that came through last year really starting to be the players that we thought they would be, especially coming in for the big price tags.
Yeah, it does show that players, obviously coming from abroad, they do need time to sell, because Trezeguet and Louis are mainstays in the team at the moment. I mean, I was reading Greg's article on the Athletic, my Athletic colleague, and usually in the comments there, he did a piece on Barkley, and the comments there are usually pretty measured, to be fair. It's not like when you go on Twitter and you read all sorts of rubbish. And there was actually a few Chelsea fans in there who were really disappointed that Chelsea let Barkley go. Who were saying that Chelsea were a better side, better with the ball when Ross Barkley was in the side. And I don't know if you saw the interview with Ross Barkley after the game on Sunday. Obviously, we came straight on and did a post-match point, but I've watched it back since. And Barkley just talks about how welcome he's been made to feel at Villa. And you sound like he's getting the bug and the love for Aston Villa already, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely, man. And he seems like quite a shy.
Yeah, he comes across shy.
I don't know him. I mean, I've got a few friends at Everton who know him well, and they say he's a great guy, and they're absolutely buzzing for him. And I think he just loves to play football, man. And he's had a couple of ups and downs. He's had a few ups and downs. He had a bad injury as well, and
yeah,
obviously didn't settle that well at Chelsea. And listen, moving to London from Liverpool and being on big wages, and the bright lights of London town, it certainly got to me when I first moved to London when I was 20 years old, and it kind of consumes you, and you can take your eye off the ball quite quickly. And I wasn't on 125, 130 grand a week, as I'm sure he probably was.
I'm more, weren't you?
Probably more. Listen, all these things come into play, but he's the kind of player that I just knew would do well. Listen, it's only been 2 games. It's been 2 games. Listen, he's had two very, very, very good performances, and it's early days, but he's just the kind of player that I think will just fit in, especially fit into what Smith wants to do and the way we want to play. We want to we want to hit teams in the counter attack, and we want players who can carry the ball, and Barkley can certainly, like Jack, can carry the ball from one end of the pitch all the way down to the other. And it's absolutely incredible. And I was watching just on the game. I was watching. There's like a highlights reel going around with Jack.
Sorry.
And Leicester, unbelievable. I mean, honestly, absolutely frightening. And I just found Adrian Durham's comments hilarious, absolutely hilarious. And it's just pure clickbait. It's pure clickbait. And I read some of the comments, and people were actually thinking he's serious, but he's not. He isn't serious. He's not serious. He's just doing that for clickbait. He's doing it for likes. He's doing it for views. TalkSport like to rub people up the wrong way, and I'm fairly sure he's not that daft. Because without Jack, we God knows where it would be.
Yeah, just go. We'll come on to Jack, and we'll come on to the TalkSport stuff as well. Just going back to Barkley, so he's come in and played 2 games against strong opposition. Liverpool and Leicester are 2 of the tougher teams you'll face in the Premier League, and he stood out in those 2 games and made a difference for Villa. Obviously 2 goals already, but I'm excited for those games when you're playing against teams who just want to sit back and defend at home, and you can't break them down. It's something Villa have struggled against in times, and just having Barkley there, someone else who can produce that and nothing, someone that will shift the focus away from Jack a little bit as well. Often Jack's doubled up on. Teams aren't going to be able to do that as much now because there's another creative fulcrum in the side as well. So I'm excited for the games against the teams that don't want to come and play football. I think Friday's game, which again we'll come on to, will be very, very open. But do you know what I mean? Like, you come and play, I don't know, Burnley at home, for example, they might come there and be quite happy for a point. You've now got someone else that can unlock doors in tight games, and that's exciting when you think about what Barkley's done against the teams who do want to play football as well.
Yeah, listen, man. I don't think Leicester particularly played expansive football
Yeah, they showed us a lot of respect. Yeah, they showed us a lot of
I
respect.
think the 7-2s absolutely terrified everybody in the league. Because if you're Brendan Rodgers and you watch back the highlights of the Liverpool game, we just absolutely picked them apart. Just it was a tactical masterclass, is what it was, and we have the players to pull that off. And I don't think Leicester were expansive. I know they were missing players, but they were doubling up. They were doubling up, trebling up on Grealish. And I think teams now, sadly, well, not sadly, but I don't think teams will be as expansive against us now because of the dangers that we possess. And Leeds again last night tried to be expansive, and Wolves just picked them off. And I honestly, it's going to be fascinating. It'll be the first home game at Villa Park since we beat Liverpool, and it'll be really fascinating to see how Leeds approach the game. But no, Dan, I thought Leicester were very tactically astute, and they were playing for a draw or playing for a 1-0, and luckily we just have that nous. At the minute we have the confidence, and we managed to bag the 1-0 ourselves. But there's no doubt they would have been really delighted with a point on Sunday, and there was no way they came they set up on Sunday to try and attack us, because we'll just pick them off.
Yeah, I think you've actually raised a good point there, and it kind of falls in what we're saying. And that Leicester did sit quite deep about us when you think about it. They were pretty deep because they were worried about Watkins getting in behind and what Watkins did to Liverpool, and they didn't want that to happen to them. And I do give him some credit, actually, because I do think they, off the back of his hat-trick, I think they marshalled Watkins pretty well. I thought the new guy, Fofana, I think he's only 19, coming in, I know he's £20 million or whatever, but coming in and playing his first game at centre-back, I thought he was very, very good up against a tricky opponent in Watkins, and I felt like he shackled him, and it was a quiet game by the high standards that he'd given himself the week before for Watkins. Just on that, Villa didn't have an alternative on the bench to Watkins. Obviously, Keenan Davis is, I mean, we've said this a number of times. Keenan Davis is injured, of course. We've only got two strikers on the books at the moment that are available to play, and then one of them misses out in Davis. You were a little worried about the striker depth still, because outside the first, even the depth in general, outside the first 13, 14 players, you do feel like we're still a little bit light. And that just one injury to Keenan Davis has meant there's no striker to come on for Watkins. Watkins went down at one point in the first half in the game as well, and you'll see up there. Can't believe I've got my hand right, although I'm doing it the wrong way. But we've got a little live poll going on at the moment. So do you feel there's enough squad depth at Villa at the moment? You can vote either yes or no on YouTube. I've got no idea where you do that or how you do that, but you're probably all cleverer than me and you'll be able to work it out. But is that something that worries you, in particular up front, the depth of the strike force?
Very much so. I think we didn't address it last season, and we haven't addressed it this season in terms of depth. I know that people will say that they see Traore playing up top as well, and when you look at the way we're playing as well, we're kind of playing similar to Liverpool's top three. I mean, we've obviously got more of an out-and-out striker in Watkins, but during the games, Watkins will drift off. He'll drift off to the left or right, and Jack will play through the middle, or Barkley will play through the middle, or McGinn might make some bursting runs through the middle. So we are mixing it up, but I really do think that we need another striker in there. And I mean, as much as I love Davis and I love his work rate, he just doesn't score goals. He's just not a goal scorer. And
I'm more concerned about his fitness, to be honest. He's always getting niggles, always
injuries. And listen, I'd love to see Louis Barry come through. I'd stick him on the bench. I'd love.
Scored a couple earlier in the week, didn't they?
Scored 2 really good goals against Wolves in the under 21s, was it? I'd love to see him come through. Certainly worthy of a place in the squad. But yeah, I do think we're lacking. And I do think that we're short of a couple of players. I think we probably have maybe 13 players that we can really call upon to make a difference, and I still don't think that's quite enough. I mean, I saw the Crystal Palace bench, on Sunday, and they had Van Arnholt and Benteke, Saka was on there, Milivojevic was on there, Maximilian Mayer, the German midfielder, was on there, who I rate very highly. So they, looking at their bench, they had quite a complete, rounded.
Benteke.
Yeah, Benteke. Yeah, I said.
Oh, do you say him? Sorry, I didn't hear it.
They had quite a strong bench as well, and I just feel that we're lacking a little bit of depth, but we'll certainly get there, and it's going to take time. And I don't think they wanted to bring in another 3 or 4 players to bed them in, because we know what happened last year when we brought in 11, 12 players. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to gel, and I think Purslow and Smith really trust the youth setup as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw. I mean, you look at Ramsey coming through this season. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Barry come through. And I think if we did a poll on whether or not fans would like to see Louis Barry in the squad, it'd be pretty unanimous. There's no way Barcelona sign a player up like him and for him not to be quality. And I think Purslow is really, and Smith and Purslow have massive hopes for him. And I do think if we had gone down last season and Jack had gone, I think he probably would have been featuring quite heavily for us this season. But I'd love to see him in and around that first team squad. And but again, I said on the post match that we are only maybe 7, 8, 9 games away from January, and if we can get ourselves through to January and then reassess it and see what we need to do, then I certainly think that we'll attack in January for sure.
I mean, the quality is there in the team now. I think that's a big thing. Maybe that wasn't always the case last season. And the word we're kind of hearing around the place now is that they don't want to just buy someone for the sake of it. That they won't do that. That was what they did last summer. There's obviously been lessons learned from 12 months ago, 13 months ago. Now that they'll wait for the right player to come along, and if they need to spend the money and the right player does come along, the owners have obviously got the money and they're prepared to do that. So it's difficult, isn't it? Because whilst you feel the squad is a little short, I mean, the vote just popped up on the top of the screen there and it's unanimously pretty much saying the squad isn't strong enough. But you don't want to just bring someone in for the sake of it. I mean, Greg and myself on The Athletic yesterday did a little segment on bringing in free transfers, and obviously Daniel Sturridge is a name that's always knocking around, a Midlands-based player. But again, you can't rely on him to stay fit the same as Davies. He's going to command a decent wage still, and it doesn't feel like there's a point in taking that risk maybe, and that's what they're thinking, and they do want to wait for the right players, and it's just a case of being patient for us now, I guess, and obviously hoping Wesley can come back sooner than expected as well. Yeah,
I was going to bring Wesley up as well, but I think with Wesley, he may be back, by the end of the year, but in terms of being fit and getting match practice and game time, it's going to take him. I mean, we saw with McGinn, it took McGinn a good 11, 12 games to really find his feet. And, Wesley's not going to be in and around that starting 11 anytime soon. I think he's one for next season, if I'm being honest. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Kodja, whenever we got Kodja in, and there was the goals from Kodja. Not that Wesley was prolific, but came in and then he had a massive injury, and it took him a long time to sort of settle back in, and Kodja never really found his form again. But I'm hoping with Wesley, because he's a lot younger, I'm hoping that we can see the best of him. And listen, if you see the way Trezeguet and Luis have improved over the last 12 months, then I think Wesley can certainly follow in their footsteps. We saw glimpses from Big Wes last season, but he's very raw. He's very, very raw, and he just needs game time. And I still think even with him, I still think we're still a striker short, and I still think we're a left back short, and possibly another centre mid. But the bench wasn't too bad. Who was on the bench on Sunday? You'd Steer, El Mohammadi, Engels,
Nakamba,
and El Ghazi.
Connor and. Yes, it's a good bench, but it's a couple more injuries, and you're suddenly where are you going for players? That's the point, I think.
Yeah,
that's the point there, isn't it?
You look at Liverpool, and I never thought that Liverpool had an amazing squad. They've got an amazing sort of 12, 13 players. But if you look at their bench, last season they had like the likes of Elliott and Harvey Elliott and Shaqiri and Origi and a few of the younger lads that came through, and never their bench never really blew me away. So it's just, you should just keep them fit. I suppose injuries are a part of the game, and you never know.
It's a big if.
Yeah, you never know when they're gonna strike. But no, I'm fairly confident. I think we all worry what would happen if we lost Jack, but looking at the quality of Barkley and the like, then no, I'm fairly confident.
Sorry, just plugging the old laptop in. The battery was absolutely draining faster than I expected, so that's in now. So you won't lose me, which is good for Dolan, because I would be interested to see you pad on your own. I'd like to see how you go with that. To be honest, you talked about needing a new left back. Now, I thought Targett was brilliant. I know you're just saying we need another option. You're probably not sure on Neil Taylor, but I thought Targett was brilliant on Sunday. He really got stuck in as well. Something that people say he shirks, but he really got stuck in and mixed it on Sunday as well. The whole team did, but to see that from him is really encouraging.
Yeah, no, he is good, but again, like, you worry about his fitness, and you also worry about competition for places. I don't think Neil Taylor is going to be pushing Targett for a start. So his position's fairly comfortable. The likes of the same with Watkins and co. But I just think we just need a bit of depth in there. Because I think there's no left backs I can think of at the club that are really emerging from the youth setup. I know Courtney Halls can play left back, but again, not a player you'd think would trouble Targett for a starting place. But listen, Targett for me, he's been excellent, and he can be a bit of a fall guy at times, and does get a lot of stick unjustly at times. He's still a young kid. It was pretty much his first full season in the Premier League. Last year came for a lot of money. Played at Fulham for the last 6 months of the season when they went up. So he's played Championship football. I don't know how many league appearances he made for Southampton. So
probably under 50. Under 50, I'd say.
Yeah. So last season was pretty much his Premier League debut season, and I thought his numbers stacked up quite well. And to go from a left back like Neil Taylor, who was great for us, great servant for us, and a great professional. How many goals did Targett score? He scored the winner against Brighton. Scored the winner. He scored against Leicester.
In the cup, yeah.
Several great set pieces and assists. Him and Jack, I thought, linked up really well last season. They had a really good understanding. So I think he'll get better. He seems to tire. He seemed to tire a little bit towards the end of the games, but his fitness looks a lot better, and if we can keep him injury free, I think he'll be a really, really good left back for us.
I think that's a key thing is the relationship with Jack. So there's always going to be someone who you're talking about in the first 11 about replacing, and I think it's Targett. In the first 11 at the moment, he's probably the one that fans look at, and he's the one that a lot of fans on social media wouldn't be having. But the way he links up with Jack, it's a joy to watch. That lovely little link up down in the first half, down the bottom corner with Jack's back heel to him. They read each other well. Jack knows where Targett's making the runs to. Targett knows where Jack's going to put the ball. You think about that goal against Leicester in the cup. That was very, very similar to that. And again, another little drag back from Jack puts Targett through for the goal. So their link up play down the left flank is actually really, really important to us, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you look at even Trezeguet's chance as well. It was very, very simple. McGinn sprayed a ball over the Targett. Brilliant first touch with his left foot. Lays it off the Jack. Jack plays it in for Trez, and in my opinion, should be 1-0. But yeah, they link up really well. I do think Targett comes in for a bit of unfair flack. I think this season especially, he's been very good. I mean, made the mistake against Sheffield United in the first game of the season, which was a bit rash. But apart from that, I think he's a good 7-8 out of 10 most weeks, and you can't really ask for much more. He's pretty consistent.
No, and it was Martinez that bailed him out against Sheffield United, saving a penalty. Just talk about him a little bit. Villa's goalkeeping department is incredible, because you think when Heaton's fit again, I'd say Martinez is one of the best in the Prem as number one. You're then looking at Heaton as a number two, arguably the best number two in the Premier League at that point when he's fit again. And Steele would be high up in the number threes as well. So you look at that as a goalkeeping three, and that's just incredible, considering the problems we've had with goalkeepers over the last few years as well. That's an incredible place to be at, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's phenomenal, and I know big. You know, we both know big cuts and how hard he works with those goalkeepers. He's made a massive difference since he's come in, and he's been brilliant. I even thought he took Neelan's game to the next level, and I thought Neelan was probably a little bit unlucky to be let go. But I think when you look at the competition for places we have with Steer, Martinez, and Heaton, I mean, yeah, you feel a bit for Heaton and Steer, because Martinez is just he's Rolls Royce, like he really is. He's even as a fan, I mean, you talk about the confidence that the back four must have playing in front of them. Even as a fan watching Villa, the confidence I have watching Villa, knowing he's our number one, is it's very strange. It's very bizarre. He's just, to have that feeling. He's just so assured. He doesn't rant and rave, but he's a very, very calming influence. He's worked his way. 10 years at Arsenal, he's worked his way for the last 10 years to this moment, and no one deserves it more than he does. 3 clean sheets out of 4. How many clean sheets did we get, by the way, last season?
I dread to think. I certainly would be surprised if it was more than 4 or 5. Be well surprised if it was big more than 4 or 5. I'm sure someone will let us know.
Have 3 out of 4 so far this season is, again, what a rise. What a jump from where we were last season. And all we're hearing week in, week out from pundits is how bad the defending is in the Premier League. But listen, you watch Villa and you watch Konza, incredible, and like, harken back a bit to Perslo's interview last summer when he said about ban players that are assets and will obviously make the club money if needs be. You look at McGinn, £2.5 million. He's probably worth about 50 million quid now. Konza, what are we banned for? 12.5, easily in this market. He's a 35 to 40 million pound centre back. If Maguire's going for 80, then if Konza keeps this up, he's 35 to 40 million pounds. Mings, 40 million pounds. Luis, 25 to 30 million pounds. Trezeguet, probably 15 to 20 million. So I think it's justified. I think last season's business, in the long run, is going to serve us well.
Yeah, that's another good point. Just back to Martinez, because I haven't finished talking about him before you go off elsewhere, talking about everyone and everybody but Martinez. Throwing my notes all over the place.
All right, mate.
What I find amazing is that, like when Neeland and Johnston were signed and they were thrown straight in, we were all over the place. And it's not easy to bed a new goalkeeper in. He literally joined, and then he's playing almost immediately against Sheffield United in that first game. It's been non-stop ever since. It's not easy to just have a new goalkeeper and everything to just look as composed and as solid as it does. And it literally looks like Martinez has been the goalkeeper at Villa for 10 years. There's just been no disruption. And I find that absolutely fascinating, because, as I say, when we throw Johnston in, when we first got him on loan, all over the place. Same with Neeland. It is not easy to just throw a goalkeeper straight in. It is testament to the back four, really, and testament to Martinez of how well that has gone.
Yeah, but I think as well, he's come off the back of such an incredible season with Arsenal. He played the last sort of 9 games, or probably 12 games if you look at Cup, and then Charity Shield. So he was certainly coming off the back of a great end of the season, and his confidence must have been sky high. So he was probably coming in himself with his chest out. He had nothing to prove. I think Johnson and Neeland obviously had a lot to prove because they were fairly unknown, but even footballers would have been watching Martinez last season and kind of going, wow. Like,
I was.
but yeah, where's he come from? Football fans and footballers. So they would have, Mings and Konza and the like would have known all about Martinez. They would have known all about him. They would have watched him. You know, obviously we played against them again at the tail end of last season when we beat Arsenal 1-0. So he's kind of had the fortune of, because this has been a season or a pre-season like no other, he's kind of really only had a few weeks off and he's been straight into it. So essentially, he's not rusty in terms of game time. But as you say, Dan, it's to gel that quickly, with a brand new back four is incredible. And you know, yeah, it's testament to the whole setup, really, testament to the coaching staff, testament to the club, and for us to even attempt to buy Martinez. You know, when I heard there was possible talk, I obviously kept my mouth shut after last season. But when I heard there was talk about him coming in, I was like, there's no chance.
I said to you, no way will that happen.
No chance. And lo and behold, we got him, and he's. I've said it probably every week since it's been on here. He's, for me, the signing of the entire summer across the Premier League. He is just, yeah. I mean, you look at every big club and you look at what all the pundits say, that you don't win anything without a top goalkeeper. You just don't. Look at Chelsea. Look at what's in there. You do not win anything without a top goalkeeper. And we have a top goalkeeper and two top centre backs. And listen, it may not be Van Dijk and Alisson, but when you got Martinez, Mings, and Konza, who needs Van Dijk and Alisson? You know, because I tell you what, I wouldn't swap those two centre backs and Martinez for many footballers right now.
I mean, Liverpool will be wishing they had a Konsa and a Mings at the moment, with Van Dijk looking like he's going to be out for the whole season. They'd absolutely kill to have one of them into their squad to bring in. Now, just a quick reminder, this is the Luke Live Lounge. You'll see above Dolan's head, you can get 20% off almost everything on the Luke Roper website. Just use the code TVV20 and you can delve into their goods and get yourself some nice coats, T-shirts, all that jazz. Yeah, do it. Why not? Right, Leeds, Dolan. I watched them last night. And dangerous territory here. I've said this to you on text today already. I wasn't massively impressed with them, if I'm being honest. And as you said earlier, I think Wolves found them out a little bit.
No, what you said to me last night was with nothing to worry about.
No. I didn't word it like that. I've seen nothing that frightens me. I think were my words.
If I wasn't recording this on my phone, I'd get the WhatsApp up now and go back and tell everyone what you said. You said there's nothing to worry about.
No. If I was to pull your WhatsApps out from over the years, my God. My God, if we had an out of context Chris Dolan account on Twitter, there'd be all sorts on there. But what I do genuinely, I didn't see anything that scares me. It is a dangerous thing to say ahead of Friday, but I didn't.
But listen, Dan, the team should be coming to Villa Park, fairness. You know, like I heard Stuart Dallas there, good old Stuart Dallas from Northern Ireland, on the post match, talking about Villa next up, and what a great run of form we're on, and he's just right. If I'm Leeds and I'm going to Villa Park on Friday night, I'd be terrified, absolutely terrified. And you know, they're just one of those teams. They do get in your head, and you know, the manager gets in your head, and some of those players get in your head. But they weren't great last night. It wasn't a great game.
No, first half was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine spending 15 quid on Burnley and West Brom as well? But
I don't think many people did.
They didn't do an awful lot. They didn't create much. They had a lot of the ball last night in the first half, which is what you'd expect, but they didn't really create anything of great note. I thought Bamford was quiet. I thought Phillips was very, very poor. Their keeper as well. I was just thinking about their keeper. He's like 20, 21.
He's getting raved about.
French. Is he French under
yeah.
20?
He's a French youngster.
Yeah, they didn't really do an awful lot to really worry me, and they are still made up of the majority of the players that got them up last season. If you look at the nucleus of their squad, I mean, even though they've got 12 players, they've about 80% of that starting 11 is still the players that got them up. We know today that Calvin Phillips is out for 4 to 6 weeks, which
Yeah,
can only help us. Another little bit of another little bit of good luck on our side, because
this is what I was saying the other night. When things are going well for you, suddenly you're rolling up against teams and people are getting injured. Whereas when things are going badly, people are returning from injury. People who don't score for 10 games score against you. Things like that. At the moment, and he's a massive part of how they play as well. Calvin Phillips, he's their most improved player under Bielsa. He's gone up 3 or 4 levels probably since Bielsa came in, but he's a massive part sitting in front of the back four of how they play. But that's the thing with Leeds; they will play one way. There is not. Bielsa hasn't got different plans. There is one plan. They will run themselves into the ground. They will press you till kingdom come. And they ran out of steam last night. We can defend. Like Wolves, we're one of those teams that can defend, and we'll keep it tight when we need to. We don't look like we're going to ship goals at the moment, and you'd fancy us to score. So it is going to be an interesting game, but people are talking about it being a high scoring end to end in the press. Like laser, yeah, I don't think it's going to be like that at all.
Well, you just never know how it's gonna pan out. I mean, we've got a Leeds fan actually coming on the show on Friday for the post match time. Which could be good fun. And
he ain't coming on if we lose, mate.
Well, hopefully he will, because Leeds fans like to give some stick. So hopefully he can take his medicine. But listen, it'll be a fascinating game. It's funny because the last game against Leicester, I wanted to right a few wrongs because we played them last time and got battered 4-0. And the last time we played Leeds at home was the 3-2 in the last minute. Was it Ruth scored in the last minute?
Remember it well.
It was my wedding anniversary. I was out in town today, absolutely miserable. And
El Mohammadi assisted, I recall.
Yeah. So that it would be just lovely to just put a few things, right a few wrongs, put a few things to bed, and obviously there's the infamous Ellen Road game as well, 2 seasons ago. And listen, there's a bit of stick going on back and forth between Villa and Leeds fans. I respect Leeds. I do. I think they're a great club. They're a great club, and it's a great city. And I think Bielsa's coach. And I'm not one of these football fans that slag off other teams and other fans and other players, because it just shows a lack of class. But they've kind of got my nerves, more so not so much Leeds, but just the media and the way that they're being portrayed as this team. And has Bielsa even won a major trophy? Has he ever won anything before? Has he ever won any silverware? I don't think he's even won anything.
I think he must have done in Argentina. I did watch a documentary on him, and I've completely forgotten any kind of information that came from that. But I'm pretty sure he won stuff in Argentina. But in Europe, I don't think he has. But I think it's just his brand of football is admired so highly, and the young coaches coming through like Pep. Yeah, that he's this hero. He's his hero, isn't it? So.
Been massively endorsed by both Guardiola and Pochettino, and I think that's where the whole media and the whole media loving came from the fact that he was endorsed so heavily by two world class managers. So listen, it should be feisty, should be entertaining. I'm really looking forward to it. How it's going to go, again, I can't call it, but if I'm going to make a prediction now on the spot, what will I say? I'm gonna go 3-1 Villa.
Ooh, I'm gonna go 1-0 Villa.
3-1 Villa.
I always fancy us for a 1-0 nowadays.
Why are you saying 1-0? Based on what?
Because I'm basing it on last night's game, because I think we can defend and I think we'll score.
Yeah,
and I think we'll sit back a bit more in this game. Well, I think you're forced to at times.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they'll still be expansive. Leeds on Friday.
Yeah, they will, but I think we'll have enough. I think we'll have enough defensively for them. I mean, I'm like you. I love that Leeds are back in the Premier League. They're a massive club. They deserve to be in there. But the media love fest, and he said something else then. The media love fest is getting on my nerves a little bit, because they haven't done anything yet. They're being talked about, is this the best team that's ever been promoted? Well, Wolves are top 7 2 years running, so straight away I'd say they're better. They've done incredible since they came up. So I like Leeds. I love Bielsa's brand of football. I think they're great. Being back in the Premier League, it's great for Villa Leeds to be a Premier League fixture again, first and foremost, because it's been a Championship fixture over the last 5 years. There's been 2 or 3 games in the Championship or whatever. But I do think, like, you look at Sheffield United last season. I mean, what they did over the course of last season is more incredible than what Leeds are doing at the moment. Come back to me at the end of the season and we'll see where Leeds finish. Great, they're back. They won't go down. But we've been talked about like the second coming of all the famous Brazil teams and stuff, and I just don't get it.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that they've been away for so long, and I think it's the fall from grace they had as well, and you know, getting into the quarterfinals was it the quarters or the semis of the Champions League, and then almost going bust, and then obviously some of the owners they've had over the last 10 years, and you know, was it your man Cellini? Was it the Italian guy that came in and bought them, and didn't he sack a manager and then reinstate, and then he got reinstated the next day. Graham McDermott, and then they've just brought in manager after manager, and then they changed their badge. Do you remember they changed their badge as well?
The Pro Evo badge,
which was dreadful. And so they've been a bit of a caricature club. They've been a bit of a laughing stock, and I think it's just the fascination to where they are now. It's, you know, coming back into the Premier League, but it does frustrate me because, you know, you hear last night, and there was a comment made by by the commentator saying, oh, you know, Leeds have signed, you know, 12 players this summer, and it's great business. Whereas we got slaughtered for signing 12 players last summer. We were told we're going to do Fulham, but again, what the press don't seem to understand is that if we didn't sign 12 players, we would have had probably 13 or 14 players going into last season. So we didn't have a squad. We had to sign 12 players. We just had to, and it's the lack. It's, you know, it's funny because if I was in the media and I was doing and getting paid to be in the media, I would do my research. I just would do, and I don't know why these pundits don't seem to do the research. And again, I love Monday Night Football, probably one of the best shows on TV. We didn't even get a look in last night. They didn't get. No,
I thought that was strange. I didn't even look at the game at all.
And I was like, come on. I mean, is there any chance? I just found that a bit insulting. But suppose you have to earn the right, Dan. You got to earn the right to be talked about, and you got to earn the right consistently to be talked about. And
I would have thought 4 wins in a row and beat Liverpool 7-2 might have.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a little bit of a mention.
But I'm talking about, you know, throughout the course of the season. I think you got to earn that right and get the consistency as well. You know, if we can do it this season and then kick on next season, then there's no way you can be ignored. I suppose a bit like Jack Grealish. It's finally taken 3 or 4 years for pundits and other fans to understand what a class act he is, and we knew all along what a player he was, but it does take a bit of time, and you have to earn that right, I suppose, to be spoken about it at the top table. And but yeah, I was a bit pissed off last night that we didn't get a mention and we didn't get looked at all. But that's what I've come to expect now with the mainstream media. You know, match today too, glossed over it. You know, there was nothing really talked about there. Danny Murphy
looked very upset.
Murphy said we turned up to spoil the party. Well, I don't think so, Danny Murphy. I don't know where I get that from. You know, and it's like I say, these pundits, they get paid very good money, and they don't even bother doing the research, and it's really frustrating. But what can you do? It is what it is. As long as we keep on winning and getting results, that's all I care about.
Yeah, and we've got about 7 minutes left because, being perfectly honest, the only reason we're doing the show at 7 p.m. tonight is because I want to watch the Champions League. So we did ask for some questions, so we're going to rattle through some questions for the last 7 minutes. So one from Dave Powell here. This is probably our most attacking side since Martin O'Neill's been in charge. If our side now played Martin O'Neill's best team, who'd win?
That's a great question, actually, isn't it? That's a great question.
Yeah. It might be a draw.
Yeah, I loved Young, and I thought even Downing was a massive influence for us. Milner, Petrov. I mean, there was quality. Carew, Gabby in his peak was incredible. Pace always wins. That's a great question. Who'd win? Yeah, I think you're right. I'm going to sit in the fence and say probably a draw. But then we didn't have a Jack Grealish. But then I suppose
Ashley Young was the Jack Grealish.
Very similar in a way. He was a bit more direct. Ashley Young, he whipped it in a lot more. Whereas Jack loves to run with the ball and glide. But yeah, I suppose Young and Grealish are quite similar. But yeah, I think it will be a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, I think it would probably be a draw. Yeah, I think a draw is probably a fair reflection on what would happen. It's a good question, though. That is.
Yeah, but this team needs to earn something. It needs to earn the right.
Yes.
You know, said like they were three years in a row, top 6, a cup final, and got into Europe. And you have to earn the right. This is only 4 games, and if they can do it consistently, if this bunch of players can do this now over the next 2 or 3 seasons, then I think we can look back at that question and go, well, it could be a different story.
Yeah, we've got one from Hannah Gower asking about Craig Shakespeare's quiet entry. How much of an impact has he had on the team and the culture of the club? Surely he's playing a part on the start so far this season. I've been trying to dig to find out some information about what's going on. I've literally come back with nothing. So, but it's not a coincidence, is it? Shakespeare's an astute coach. He's been around the block, and you can't knock what he's done in his career. Really, he's been a manager of a team in the Champions League when Leicester were there. So I think it was only one game, but still, the point stands. But he's made a difference, and fair play to Dean Smith for getting someone like Shakespeare in. And he could have been quite pig-headed not to get another coach in, but they've done it. They're good friends, and Shakespeare's done the business so far.
Yeah, well, you look at the warm-up now as well, and it seems to be a real kind of bond. I mean, you got Terry, O'Kelly, and Shakespeare in the pre-match, and they always seem to have that huddle as well. And
yeah,
and it seems to be to have that extra voice, to have that third voice in Shakespeare. No doubt has made a massive difference. And yeah, listen, the guy's been successful everywhere he's been. Leicester fans would say that he was a massive reason why they won the league that year. He was such a big part. Took a lot of the training sessions as well. That year when he was due to Ranieri, I thought he did a pretty good job when he was in there as head coach at Leicester as well. But yeah,
it wasn't bad.
There's no doubt, Dan, that he's made a big impact. But he's hard to get hold of. He's kind of keeping himself very much under the radar, and which is kind of cool because he's a bit of a unknown at the minute because we haven't heard from him at all. But it's certainly making an impact.
Yeah, we'll just finish with this one from Instagram, Alex D228. Thoughts on missing out on Ben Rama? Well, I mean, we've covered the attacking cover till January earlier in the show, but were you disappointed to miss out on Ben Rama, Dolan, or were you like me, not really that bothered?
I mean,
where's he going to play? Where would he play?
Where's he going to play? I mean, he probably would be an upgrade to Trezeguet, but then you look at the work rate that Trezeguet's putting in. It's
got Troy O'Reilly in as well.
Yeah, I know, but I still think we can. Yeah, I mean, he was probably a luxury. Can you go to Brentford and spend 50 million quid, 6 million quid on two players? I don't really think you can. But yeah, I mean, I thought he would have been a cert, but when for me, I would have had Watkins all day because Watkins is more of a player that we needed than Ben Rama, and I think it's proven that Watkins has been a great signing. But it'll be interesting to see how Ben Rama plays in that West Ham team. He's quality, like he is. He's a quality player, and listen, he gets to stay in London, and I'm sure it's a fairly easy move. And even though it was a loan deal, there's no doubt that he'll sign there permanently.
Yes. Next summer. I think he's got to. I mean, for me, once we signed Watkins, I'd all interest in Ben Rama. I thought that ain't going to happen. Like you say, to go and spend 60 million on two players from Brentford, I didn't envisage that ever happening, and I'm happy with what we've got. We did get a stupid question on Instagram as well from someone called Chris_Dolan. Does Dan Bardell support Paris Saint-Germain or Villa? Nothing wrong with wanting to watch a bit of elite football, mate, a bit of Champions League football. There's nothing wrong with that.
The fact that you bought all the training gear as well.
Got a few pieces. I mean, when you're sitting there wearing that hoodie and you're digging people out for clothes, I'd question whether that's...
Get into the Champions League next season when we play PSG in the group stages, what are you going to wear? A Villa hoodie or a PSG hoodie?
I mean, one absolute dream on two. It's a no-brainer. Obviously, I'm purely Villa. I just like the Paris gear, as I'm sure many Villa fans do. I've seen a lot of people knocking around in the Jordans. If it's more Jordan, I like Jordan. That's the thing. That's what it is. Well, we're going to have to go because we've got 1 minute till the Champions League kicks off. But it has been a pleasure to do this with you, Dolan. It's been a pleasure to talk about Villa winning, as we seem to do most weeks, every week at the moment. Thanks to everyone for joining us as well. We really, really appreciate all the support. Getting a lot of love on social media as well, which is great to see. Don't remember to use the Loot code. Get yourself 20% off. And also, apologies for the technical issues that we had on the start. Adam is a few strikes in now. You might not see him back on Friday, but we will be back for the post-match pint even on Friday in association with Purity, probably around 10 o'clock, I would think. Fingers crossed for another 3 points for Villa. Cheers.